Can't hear you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. We are live now, and we'll just wait for like 30 seconds for everyone else to join, and then we will start our proceedings for the day. Okay, so yeah, we are live now, and just let's wait for a few minutes for everyone to join. Okay, good evening, everyone. We're just waiting for everyone to join. Just give us a few minutes so that we have maximum people joining us. People are joining us slowly. We will wait for like 2 minutes before everyone else joins, and we start the show. Okay, right, sir. So we will start now. So we have some decent amount of people who have joined us from on the LinkedIn and on YouTube. So good evening, everyone. Today we are here to basically discuss some transition matters. Basically, people from the armed forces or similar other backgrounds who have served in the uniformed services and would like to come today into the outside world. Now, this is from my personal experience that I've realized that it's the ride becomes easier once we have few mentors on board, and I was lucky enough to have some great mentors behind me, and first amongst them was, of course, Colonel Varun. Colonel Varun comes from 71 Armored, and he's got a rich experience in operations. Then, of course, my first CEO, Colonel KPM Das, who comes from Signals, and he recently finished his second tenure post the Indian Army. Then he worked with Persistent and then Cisco, and then of course Colonel Prem Vas, who mentored me into how to prepare for the outside world, and he was there during each and every step of my journey. Right. So once I came out, I started off with a career, and those of you who know me or who don't know me, I'm Colonel Shubhajit Na. I'm the founder of Protect Technologies and Protect Academy, and the aim was, it's been a long time that I have not taken a session on helping out people and understanding that how transition has to be planned. And I think today we have the great minds, one of the best minds today possible, who have transitioned successfully and who actually have shown light of the day to a lot of people. So without any further delay, sir, over to you, Colonel Prem. Colonel Prem will be leading this conversation. I think he is the one of the most experienced person right now who can take this discussion forward and discuss at length the nuances of transitioning, or those who are already into the retired space, as to how to maneuver their career into the outside world. Over to you, Prem sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Subhajit, for that intro and for that eloquence. But with me is Colonel Varun and Colonel Das, who who has been in the scene much earlier than I. But specialized myself just more of transition. Okay, so I've been in four different industries. Yes, I've been in four different industries, and chief of operations, head of HR, and all that works. Administration also. Somebody will ask me which is a domain. I've done all the domains, so that gives me a chance to speak about a lot of things. So that's how I've moved into transition and I've been able to say. So what we will do now is I will take you to about 30 to 40,000 feet because we won't be able to cover with such a less time. So I'll just take you how should you plan your transition. Is that okay? Uh, does it sound okay, Das sir and Warren sir? Is that okay? First, we plan the transitions. How do you do that first? And then I will leave to both of them and Subhajit to add the nuances there. Okay, now I'm not going to go to the basics. I'm not going to the question of are you going to leave or not? That's done. So here we've decided that we leave whether we are 10, 14, 20, or superannuating. Whatever it is, we are going to a second carrier. We choose to be a second carrier. So, in choosing a second carrier, there are a few things that we need to keep in mind. I'm talking about nuances only, right? Okay. The first thing is that a lot of us make a mistake of choosing a carrier based on somebody else's opinion. This is the first mistake that I've been realizing a lot of Fajis who do it because their course mate said so, their friend said so, and the unit officer said so, and so they picked up that carrier. And they went with the magical CTCs which was promised. And these were the mistakes that one should never make. The best way to choose your career is to now, it's a second career, choose it because you would love to work in the second career the way that you had dedicated yourself in the forge. So let's choose it. That's my call sign here. Choose your career. Now, the question is, how do we choose it? So that's where the domain selection comes. The first of your transition journey starts with this domain selection. Which is it? Operations, supply chain, HR, or entrepreneurship, or even something very niche, something you've never done before. But whatever you choose, it has to be something that you love doing. If you choose from there, then you are actually enjoying your second tenure or second career, right? Now, the question is how much of it is going to be practical from your second career economics point of view and the passion that you want to do it. If you're great at golfing, you can't choose a career of golfing unless you're going into the the professional golfing. So I'm just talking from that point of view, right? So that's the first thing that we have to talk about. The second thing that we need to now choose is having decided which is the domain that we want, then we choose for the certifications and the upskilling. And each of them are different. Each of them. So people can reach out whenever they want to me. I can discuss with you what are the career choices or certificates that you do. This is very important, not because the corporate does not value what you bring, it's because you have to update from an entirely different environment to an environment which is different, where it's all business, it's all top line and bottom line, it's a cost center, it is a revenue center. So you are depending on which part of that you have to plan it out. So therefore, unless they know that you have updated yourself with the latest certifications, and therefore your leadership transferable skill that you bring from the armed forces, both of them are a great cocktail to take you to a very heady career. So that is the confidence which somebody from outside is going to hire you from. How have you prepared for the transition? Therefore, upskilling and certifications. The third thing thereafter comes is preparing your CV and your networking. Why CV and networking? There is a reason for this, because your networking, 8.3%, sorry, 83% of a researched figure, 83% of the jobs at your level, whether 10, 14, or 20 plus, are only through referrals or recommendations. Somebody has to recommend you, somebody has to refer you. Otherwise, it's very, very rare that you might get something from the job portal. Very rare. So it is important that you increase your probability of getting picked up for a job with networking. And the only tool in the world which is the best is LinkedIn, and we are live through that. The LinkedIn, some options are there. People have been talking, oh, LinkedIn is a waste of time. LinkedIn is a tool, it's a networking tool, it's not the job portal. Through that networking, you get your jobs. It's like that. There is a menu, drop down menu for jobs, but that's not where LinkedIn is going to be useful. In my career, in the corporate, four different industries, two of them are jobs that I got through my LinkedIn Connect. My first one was because I am Ahmedabad. I did the DGR course and I got through that to campus interview. But thereafter, it's all through networking, all through networking. So therefore, networking is only possible through LinkedIn, and there are certain ways of doing it. So it's a tool, you know how you should use it, and it's a very disciplined tool. More of it, if you have time, we'll talk about it. And then comes your preparation for your interviews. In the interviews, we, as armed forces officers, we have been groomed how to talk. We know how to speak to the president of the India, to the security guard. We know how to interact with people. But that's where it's more important that because we know how to talk, that doesn't actually address your interviews. Your interview depends on three factors. What have you picked up from your armed forces career? The second is what have you picked up from the upskilling and certifications and your preparation for the second career? How do you mesh these two to deliver your job description that demands from you? If you put these three factors as the pillars in your interaction in the interviews, then you are way better off than many others who are also coming for the interview. So keep this as an interview portion of it. And then comes negotiation. It's not like the CDA. Negotiations is a big tool by itself. It's a vast field. I'll just give you my son is a second generation HR. He is with Geofinance right now. He's entirely his career in the HR has been only compensation and benefits. He just does that, nothing else. It's so important. It's very complex. He needs to know a lot of tools for that. Just to give you a heads up. So it's very complex there. Then comes your last, that is when you just get into the corporate, what should you be aware of because you're moving from an entirely different environment to another environment. And in this environment, you are coming from a hierarchy where the system supported you. You always had somebody above you. Your company commander had the CO to look upon if something happened. The CO had the brigade commander, and it goes up right up to the chief, and the chief had the minister, defense minister. So there is that falling back. I mean, you do have that in the corporate, but you are on your own most of the time. You take decisions. There's no looking over the shoulder. So those things that keeps that you need to groom yourself, and this changing of mindset should happen at least 2 or 3 years before you leave, so that you are tuning into the business. There you have to talk in terms of how much business can you earn, whether it's you're in any of the HR functions, administration, security, cybersecurity, whatever. How are you going to benefit in terms of revenue to the company, either saving cost or adding revenue? So this is the overall that I wanted to share with you. More of it as the other officers can put in what they have experienced. And I leave it to Shubhadip, whom do you want to hand over to the next?
Right, Prem sir. Thank you so much for this, very short and swift, transition guide. Sir, actually, I wanted to with KPM, sir. I'll come later, but I wanted to come to Varun first, and probably one of the motivations for me to come outside and step outside and take on the entrepreneur journey comes from Varun also. So Varun sir, will you just give a short? I will say, I don't want to get a perspective as to whether we should go outside and will be successful or not. I feel that all forges will be successful no matter what. Right? What I want to know is, do you think you are an armored core officer and you have been into the top tech companies as CEO, which I have seen, right? Do you feel that armed forces officers are designed to do something, or each one of us has got multiple skill set and we need to hone up just one skill set or two skill set, or shall we hone up multiple skill sets? This is the question I have for you, because I have seen you with multiple skill sets.
Well, I'll tell you, I think everyone comes with multiple skill sets. That's the way I look at it, right? And you have your strengths and you have your weaknesses. You play to your strengths. You cover your weaknesses by knowing just about enough to be dangerous and leave it at that. But what you said now, and I love what you just said, right? About how do you prepare yourself and what is that transition mode and all. So I'll tell you the first thing, and for those who are spinsters and single, it's okay. But if you are if you have a better half and if you have a family, make sure they are just as on board with you as you yourself are. Because there are going to be times when that's life. There will be times when things are not going to be rosy. You may be without a job, you may be without, so you got to get to that mindset. Point one. The second is your attitude. And I'll give you an example, okay, guys? So it's easy. I knew I'd cracked this interview with Cambridge Technology Partners. They just come into India and all that, as the operations head or whatever. And I knew I'd cracked it, but there was that last question which the CEO asked me, and he says, Colonel, and he addressed me as Colonel, you're going to be with very young people and things like that. So our only hesitation is that you, with so many years of experience, are coming in with this very young, dynamic crowd and all, and how are you going to really manage it, Colonel? And so that's probably my. And so it's almost that one question which will either make you or break you, right? You'll always have that. Prem, you know it. You've been in HR, so you would understand that, right? So my answer to that, and I knew that I'd cracked it because I saw that look in his eyes, and I said, I think I'm forgetting his name. He was an Indian, Rahul. I said, Rahul, you've told me in this last conversation at least 4 times you called me a colonel. When I walk into Cambridge Technology Partners, I'm Varun. And I knew that I clinched it because what I'm saying here is your attitude. We're so used to a certain life. We're going to get into something completely different. What's going to be your mind play on this? I mean, I've got a tagline there saying no passion, no life and all. You're going to get into something very different. So you've got to let go of something before you can take something on, right? And your skill sets will automatically get you to it, but there'll be gaps. And you'd be stupid if you don't do something about those gaps. Like Prem said, select your domain and then get upskilled on that domain. Now, some people have a lot of time. You've got 5 years to decide, and therefore you can do your study leave and things like that. Some people just decide on the spur of the moment, and Das got a beautiful job, like he was saying. You get a great job and all. You want to just move and swing, and then you fall on your backside, and then what happens? That's the time you really wake up. And I've hardly seen anyone not succeed. But I think that whole attitude, taking your family along with you and preparing hard, is the essential bit to start, right? Even now, what did I find in you? Here was the commanding officer and all that. He knew his stuff. He knew his domain, and I didn't know that domain at all. He knew every little bit about it. He would talk about it. He's saying, I'm doing these courses. This is what I have done. This is the certification I have done. He was more than ready even well before he was coming into the city street. He would have been a success anyway. He didn't need me as a mentor or Das as a mentor. He's already got that. Das.
Right, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, KPM, sir, your views.
Yeah, so I have 2 panelists, one who was very, very structured and one who actually brought so much of that zen into it through through a lot of inner thoughts, right? So let me try and be somewhere in between, okay? And what I'll do is I'll tell a story, in as far as my transition is concerned, and to tell you that how things are so different today as it was compared 20 years back, in a very positive sense. Yeah. So one is Prem spoke about preparing. I think it's very crucial, right? Day job in the army or night job in the army aligns with what's happening in CV Street, right? I was one of them, fortunately, but for many it doesn't happen. Yeah. So then you need to give that, ramp up that runway you need to get prepared. Fortunately, the credibility of a 4G today, I'm making a judgment call here, okay? The credibility of a 4G today in the market is far higher than what it was 20 years back. And who's responsible? All of you who are on this call, right? Because, and I'll come to it a little later, what makes us different, right? So one of the things that Prem mentioned is about firstly discovering what are you. And actually, I went through the exercise. I kind of switched off the lights, picked up a drink, and actually sat through 3-4 sessions where I said, what am I after 24 years in the army? Yeah. And then I came out a little more clear. I walked away from something which was significant as a milestone in the army. I knew that what I was walking away from. So I said, let me do what that little kida which was there when I was in high school. I wanted to do tech, and later on I wanted to do programming. That was an unfinished business somewhere. It was there as a company commander, as a CEO, etc. I said, let me go finish it, and that was actually the motivation to leave. When you get 3 months to leave, I realized that people said you will find a job easily, right? Nothing happened for 89 days, 90 days, 92 days. And people would call up, where you join? I said, nothing, man, I haven't got a job, right? And partly because I used a judgment. There were a lot of telecom jobs going around, which is more like the signals job I used to do in the units. I said, no, I want to sit and write code, right? And nobody would come anywhere near me. I was 44 years old, till one fellow said, I'll give you a chance. You join right on the shop floor, right? Shop floor, literally, right? And I was with 3 freshers working together. But the beauty about corporate is you get so many opportunities to grab. Low-hanging fruit, high-hanging fruit, all of that. If your sensors are out and you are the kind of guy who always says, hey, let me give it a try, that's how this story rolls out, right? The second thing is, it's a great equalizer, corporate roles, right? Everybody is watching you, and it's all about how you kind of walk, not the talk. And they're watching you. You don't have to say it. There are no words of command and so on. However, at some point, someone will come and say, listen, you've been writing code. Can you do HR for a year? Typical Fauji response would be, yeah, let me try it. I've done MTO, I've done weapon training officer, I've done all kinds of stuff. Let me give it a try. So I'm versatility, which is very unique for Fauji. Yeah. Unfortunately, in some ways in the academy, they tell you you're an RT officer or a signals or infantry. It's much later I realized fundamental architecture of competence is the same. The architecture is the same. And that is, once that realization comes in, actually, then you find that there's a lot more osmosis. You can do a lot more things. So that is something that I leverage. It came to my advantage. And the next thing is about execution orientation, right? We are so familiar with standard operating procedures. The 2IC tells you to do something, second in command XO in the ship tells you to do something. The first thing you do is go do it, get back, write it down so that the next guy has a cheat sheet to run with it next year. That kind of is wired into us. We are unique creatures. No animal on earth is like this, right? We have this ability to replicate success. And that is something which is extremely useful outside. And actually, you don't need to prepare for it. It's already there in you. Just that you need to give it a shape in terms of certifications, processes, standards, templates, etc. Right? So there's a huge plus that you're going with. The last thing I wanted to mention is I do mentor a lot of people from Forge who are transitioning out, and very often the conversation sometimes, not many times, sometimes begin with what is the kind of paycheck I'll get. So I said, man, we'll talk about it later, right? Personally, for me, not once have I been led by comp at all, right? And at times you do feel, and it happens to Fauji's in particular. In fact, I caution them that after 6 months, you suddenly figure out, man, the role that I've got in this company, I'm actually made for 3 levels higher. It hits a Fauji, right? That's the way we are. We are forever wanting to take the job of the guy whom you're reporting to, right? That's extremely good to think like that, right? Because the potential is immense, so many opportunities, and you have the whole wide world open before you. Over to you, Subhajit. I think I exceeded my time.
No, sir. No, you exactly what sums up and what we are looking for. So, uh, but I had a different experience, Varun sir. So the day I put up my unwilling for hire command, and I say, hey, listen, what am I going to do on another 6 months down the line? So I go on LinkedIn and I press. I see a job and I press on that job, and within 10 minutes I get a call from the HR. Okay. So, Prem sir, this is where, I do believe that, at times, things go different for, for different, in different ways. So, what I feel is, it goes differently for everyone else. And then I didn't take that job. It was a very high paying job and I didn't take that job. What I took was what interested me. So then someone again reached out to me on LinkedIn and tells me, hey, can you engineer the cloud and security for us? So I said, now this is the role which I can do. And that's where I started. So probably everybody's journey is different, and we all have our own journeys. But few things which are, I will say, common ground is when to take a decision, when to transition, right? That is, that decision, if you take a little early, at least 3 to 4 years in advance, and then you prepare for it and be very, very sure and clear what you want to do, then I don't feel there is any roadblock which is going to be there. The problem which I find in most of the offices is the last minute decision, and then going with what Colonel Prem said, that अच्छा, यूनिट ऑफिसर्स ने बोला कि सप्लाई चेन में बहुत डिमांड है, सो लेट्स गो टू सप्लाई चेन. Then somebody says ki cybersecurity is the in thing, let's prepare for cybersecurity. So 20 years of your life, you were told to follow the army cybersecurity policy, you never followed, and one fine day you wake up and say, hey, I want to go into cybersecurity today because it's the buzzword. So it doesn't happen like that, it doesn't work like that, right? What I would like to know from Varun is, so do you think certain specific arms and certain specific services are more suited for, say, operations roles or logistics roles, or is there a way to skill up and target those openings, rather than saying ki, okay, if I'm an infantry officer, I'm only meant for physical security, operations, logistics. Now operations, what we understand, our understanding of operations and what actually operations is outside, is something else. What we call adjutant's role in the army, right, is actually what's operations role outside. Right? Maybe not the P&L part. P&L part is additional which comes in, but our understanding of operations is probably not clear. So can you throw a little bit more light about what are
I,
operations?
look, I think it's a fantastic question because we all think we are straight jacketed, right? I'm from the armored corps, someone's from the signals, therefore only this, someone's from this, only that. But I'm telling you, what Das said is really true. The inherent strengths and that capability, if that exists, and if you can build on that, you'd find, honestly, I mean, they're saying about leaders being born and all that stuff. We've discussed all of those. I'm sure you've gone through all of that stuff and all that. But if you truly know who you are, taking exactly from what KPM said and what you therefore want, then the doing is not the difficult part. Okay? Then it's the passion to do and things like that, right? So I think I'll just take away from Subhi what you mentioned about, that you had no problem getting a job. And I'll tell you why you didn't have a problem getting a job. You had so many certifications lined up over there, right? You had that capability right over there, right? If I were to try it like that, no one would even, I would have to keep waiting beyond the 89 day. That's much, much longer, right? So the problem is, I'll tell you what happens. I get passed over for a promotion. Then I say, what the hell? I'm good. So then I have a knee-jerk reaction and then I go and jump out. Hold. You've seen the movie Braveheart? Yeah? Hold. Build your capability. Build it up. Wait a little bit longer. Do what it takes. Understand where you're going and what. And that's how you can get it done. And I don't think there is a See, at a lower levels as you come, by the time you're getting out, you'll be, if you're in the 40, 45 range and all that, you're at a very senior level, really. And all of us across the board, there's leadership skills already built in, there's great communication built in, the integrity is there, the discipline is there. You got all that it takes already there. It's just the domain which is missing and how to put it into right. You talk about P&L, Subhajit. How do you work those P&Ls around? Not difficult. Like Das said about the who said about the SOP? Das, you said, right? SOPs. Put it all together and then we can work through it. We can all get through that. So my sense is no. I think anyone can get to any level that they really want to, but it depends on what you truly want. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses, and which is a domain you really want to work in. Don't come just because you want a job, because you got a pension coming in which is about $1 lakh plus or whatever and all that, so you're comfortable, etc. You got some money from here and rental there, and thoda 1 lakh ka job mil jayega to ho jayega. Bullshit. It doesn't work that way. You got to want to because you want to, right? You not for the money, but for what you want to do in that. The money is a byproduct. It will come. कहाँ जाएगा? That's
a great perspective, sir. Great perspective. Money, don't run behind the money. Don't run behind the money. Go for what probably before you see. You all are 20 years behind when we joined, and probably the strata of society at that point in time was a little different, right, sir? We had very few choices to make. Today, there are a lot of choices to make. And when I went into army, I realized that once I went in and I wanted to come out, I said, look, there are some unfinished dreams which I need to fulfill. I need to test my capabilities. And I think that's what you're trying to say, Varun, that, try to test your capabilities, try to test what you've missed, rather than thinking कि यार मेरे को 40 लाख की नौकरी मिलनी चाहिए या 60 लाख की नौकरी मिलनी चाहिए. So like we plan, and that's what I tell all the people who are transitioning. Don't look at the money. Imagine you are doing a appreciation, and your CEO has told you that you got to get to the target, right? So you don't start counting your bullets. How many bullets do I have, right? You start planning backwards. If I have to capture that locality at D+3, then how much ammunition should I carry, rather than you picking the whole belt up and moving out. So it's that end product and that unfinished business, probably that passion which you have to get in, right? KPM sir, your points on your views on that, sir.
Yeah, I mean, planning is something that you always have to do, fully knowing that when you hit rubber hits the road, the plans are of no use, right? We know that. But, I just wanted to leave, because I'm seeing some comments in the chat box. I just want to say that I'm available on my cell phone, and I'll be delighted to engage with people as I've done for 21 years. So let me get to the first, right, which is first point in response to what Varun just said is clearly there is some bit of heavy lifting and grunt work that's got to be done. I normally do my transition sessions in 3 parts. Part 1 is I spend about 5 to 10 minutes. That's about it. And I figure out whether I should spend more time, right? And personally, this is what I do. I prioritize short service officers over premature retired officers for obvious reasons. And premature retired officers over superannuation, officers, again, for obvious reasons. Yeah. So then what I do in the first session is I actually try and break down what Prem just said initially into pieces, which is all about where you are and what are the minimum things that you need to do, on till you leave the service, right? And there's a lot of things you to do. Some of them are of the heart, some are of the mind, and some are of your hands and legs, right? Which is actually doing and learning. Yeah. Then in the second session, what I do is I tell them how to look at the environment, the market, right? And I begin by saying that good people are at a premium across the world. Every CEO, actually, in private will tell you, I need more good people in my company, right? In my team. There is there is this large average which is building up organizations, and they want people who stand out. They're forever looking. So invariably, if you run into, through your networking or otherwise, if you can run into a CEO and capture 2 minutes of their time, and you can give a 2-minute pitch, you have to prepare that 2-minute pitch. So you need to have a 2-minute pitch, a 5-minute pitch, a 10-minute pitch, a 1-hour pitch. Be prepared for all of them, in the sense that you should be able to tell your story in that way. How do you tell a story? You cannot have one story. So what I tell people whom I mentor is, make clusters of market opportunities, right? So if I'm going for information security, there are multiple roles. I can be an information security person inside a company which is a pharma or a hospital or Procter and Gamble or Unilever. It is different. If I'm going to be in a tech company, it's going to be different. So what I tell people is, open up a notebook. Today I tell them to open up an Excel sheet. That's the only difference. And then have worksheets for each cluster. Go every day, spend 30 to 45 minutes Googling and researching on companies, which kind of, it tells you, yeah, this is a possible place. Write it down, contact number. You'll be prepared to do. I have even done cold calls those days. Okay. And whenever you meet people, it is that you have a story to tell them. That means you know what they do, you know what they're struggling with, and you know that there's a little blue ocean gap there where you possibly is the best fit. So in one paragraph or two paragraphs, you actually are communicating that I've done the hard work to understand you. They really appreciate it in interviews. And the second half is about what you can do in that company, right? I found this, I've got a feedback saying that it's been useful. It's a little heavy duty. You need to do a lot of work day after day in your preparation time, but you eventually build up a knowledge base where you map the market to yourself. And there are people who say, instead of selection, they reject. They say, okay, this is not for me. This is not for me. And finally, you end up with opportunities that you can chase. Yeah. This I didn't honestly practice. I couldn't. I didn't find a job. Right. But I
don't
know
want to
people who
intervene,
follow.
but I want to ask you to build on this, because what you just said, for people who've just got 2-3 years of experience or 4 years, because it's a great thought. How do you build on that? Would you cover that? That would be really good.
So one, I'm again making a kind of a judgment here, right? I'm assuming all of you are the learning kind, right? The kind who gets worried that your Havildar in your team is smarter than you. It worries you a great, because you're a leader, right? You're forever chasing that pinnacle, that pedestal from which people respect you and people follow you, right? That chase actually gets you into the learning curve, right? And that applied in Forge, it applies here as well, right? So I'm talking as a technical person, right? So forever there is one bound, to use an army term, one bound beyond, where you're at any time you're working towards in terms of learning, right? So I think that is the purpose. Once you get that momentum in that preparatory 12 months to 18 months, right? You're I mean, I'm in touch with some of these people who are leaving, who actually I tell them, yeah, don't chase any more certifications, right? There are guys who go certification after certification after certification. No. You don't do that. You don't do that, because you have limited time. All this costs money. I know you can afford it today, unlike earlier years, but you need to be very, pick that little sliver where you can go deep. Yeah. The other thing, what I found, which is a big plus, which all of you carry on this call, is fundamentally we are problem solvers, if you look at it, right? Because that's the kind of background we come from. Now, whether it's technical, non-technical is a different issue. But you have the ability to pick up a problem, break it into its parts, and then map solutions to that. And that is something which you need to showcase when you go for interviews. Yeah. There are formal methodologies there, and Prem would tell you about it. If you can learn those methodologies, fine. But I think you need to be forward-leaning, put your best foot forward. And to summarize, what I just said is, this gap between what you actually are versus what they actually want, what you bring to the table. In fact, some interview, they tell you directly, friend, what do you bring to the table, right? You need to have that 1 minute pitch right there, right? Telling them that I know you are going to invest so much in next 3 years. I think I have a role to make it happen. Yeah, something like that. I mean, that's a very high level thing, but it needs to be a little more technical. Yeah. So that's all, Varun, from my end.
Right, sir. So what I will do is, I'm going through all the questions right now, and what I see is, I would like to take the question from Kamal. So I take it that she's not from the, the veteran community, and she's a fresh graduate in cybersecurity, and she's saying that it's not easy for her to get a job, as entry level jobs ask for 2 to 4 years of experience. Now, how to deal with this as a first break is a big challenge. So, Prem sir, I would like to get your perspective on this particular question, and then I will take on this, and then probably I'll ask KPM sir on this.
Thanks, Kamal, for putting this across. And this incidentally also applies to some of our armed forces officers too. So if you're an infantry and if you're looking at something else, then this is a great way of doing it. And I'll just tell you something that worked for some people who have broken the norm. The norm that they broke is they just volunteered to walked up to the company and said, listen, this is what I can do. I'm not looking at salaries. I just want to learn this job. Can you give me 6 months? I'm not talking about the internship. I'm talking about actually doing the role. I know of an officer who just went up and said that I want to do this role in HR. I just want to learn IR. I want to learn the HRIS. I want to learn the Power BI that is happening. How are you applying it? Because I've done Power BI from the internet, but I want to know how to apply it. 2 months. When I was the head of HR of that company, he just came, just only because he came on chutti that time. And you should have seen the amazing respect this officer got within the first 1 week in the company. And our company was one of the old hierarchy British time kind of companies. So plantation, the plantations still have that. Those guys were floored. They said, when are you leaving? We want you. They want him where? In plantation, right? Because of the kind of adaptability that he had. So go ahead, don't look at salaries, get that 2 years of 4 years. Don't waste time looking for a job that is giving you 2 or 4 years of experience. Go pick up that experience first, irrespective of the salary. Then demand the salary that you want because you are now too good at it. You see the difference? You're not a normal employee. What I find between youngsters who join and the youngsters who do well, the youngsters who join, मेरा salary कितना है? Am I doing enough job for that salary? Those are normal guys. But the guys who do well subsequently, who go to the next team leader and a manager and everybody are the ones who look at what can I do? What can I add value to it? And we, from the armed forces, like what KPM sir said, and also Colonel Varun has said, the kind of adaptability, that problem-solving skills that we have to put that in use, and we can do it tremendously. There's one more thing I want to add here, Subhajit. This is something that we in the armed forces, and also, Kamal, this is very important for you to understand this. Understand the culture of the company. This is super important. You have to understand the culture of the company. Why I'm saying this question is, when I went on the third job that I went as a head of MobMe was a company which the average age of the employees there is 27. And I'm well past 50. Okay. So the head of, the CEO of the company was 41. And people used to call him old man. He didn't want to be called old man. And so he wanted to take me in as a head of HR so that people will call me old man. That was the idea. So I knew him very well. And he was a CFO with me earlier. Then he became a CEO of a company. So he said, Prem, there is this HR here is in shambles. Please come and sort it out. And they're all youngsters. And when I walked in the company, can you believe this? They didn't have a attendance record at all. They walk in whenever they want. The only criteria the company had was that whatever job given to you, you will do it. So the moment I came in, I immediately got one of the cabins turned into a bunk bed, because these guys work late in the night. They don't care about timings. The job is to finish the job. IT companies, the job is complete in time. So these guys come, go whenever they want, and they come in slippers, they come in shorts and things like that. I never applied any of my 4G discipline there because I knew I'll make a big mistake if I do it. So understanding the culture is super important, and you have to adapt to it, right? So that is where it is. So go out and get that opportunity on your own. Don't wait for a job to give you that experience.
Right, thanks, Prem. So that's a great insight. I have a very specific recommendation for Kamal. If you got a very prominent and relevant suggestion, I will say, Kamal, if I look at cybersecurity industry today, uh, companies which are under compliance, like banking, critical sectors, would be the ones who are very worried. Second is, look at sectors like which are privacy driven, right? Like health sector, right? And maybe organizations which store electronic information, right? So I don't know about Norway, but if I was in your place at this point in time and I look back, and if I have to get a job, firstly, I'll definitely take Prem's recommendation that, okay, why should I apply? Rather, I will go and, say that, look, I can do this for you. And second is, I will probably, if I don't know the Norway job market, but I will look at, just don't look at the big fours and the tech companies. Everyone today needs a security personnel, right? Every company today, every organization. So don't ignore those small companies where you will get much more exposure, right? So just don't just look at that top notch first break into big fours or the Googles and the Microsofts. Look at some small company where you'll get more hands-on experience. How would you like to take that on, KPM, sir? For a fresher, you will have much more better.
All said and done, at least for now, there is a demand supply mismatch, right, in the market. And whenever there is a demand supply mismatch, you can look at it as a challenge, you can look at it as an opportunity. The opportunity is all this is happening in the midst of massive churn, right? Uh, Even traditional sectors, conservative practices, even those sectors are now having modern practices, right? Uh, all of them are getting digital, right? So understanding digital tools, understanding digital way of doing things is, I think, a necessary skill. It's like driving, swimming, and kind of handling your computer. It has become so basic that you should be very equipped with, very comfortable in dealing with a digital thing, right? Uh, the other point I wanted to mention, and I saw this question from two people here, is about, you don't have the luxury of working for free for very long. So what do, right? So there are today companies which actually even offer internships, right? Unfortunately, they qualify those internships saying the eligible criteria is this, and 9 out of 10, a lot of us don't fit into it as 4Gs. Yeah. But nothing stops you from turning up on that day, right? And saying who you are. You will definitely get an audience, right? And spin your story, 1 minute story that captures their attention, right? uh, there is a bit of marketing that we need to learn, all of us, right? And that then kept ready, because the people figure out, especially I think people who qualify and filter uh, funnels, large funnels of people who apply. I think there are things that stand out. We need to understand that can be a separate thing that we can hear in from Prem, because there are some very modern tools under use today. But how do you stand out when the funnel is so big, right? So that's today's challenge.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thanks. We will now move on to the next question. This is from Dhruv Raj Surohi. So Dhruv happened to be Jeevan in the same division when I was commanding. So hi Dhruv, good to see you here. So you planning to build your career in supply chain domain. So you have roughly 18 months ahead of you. So request if you can share perspective planning to help me make an informed decision. So I think Prem sir and Varun sir, anyone can take on this.
Okay, in this, okay, so supply chain, there are like how you have in the operations, even Colonel Warren will be able to add up to that. In the operations, you have this PGP, this program management and all of the certifications that you need to do. And something like that you also have in supply chain. There are certifications that you need to do. And these certifications are the ones that is very exclusively looked at, especially if you're going to be a leader there, because they understand the supply chain that you have done in the armed forces, right? But you have to now, like what Colonel KPM said, you have to have your story as to how you can convert your armed forces supply chain into a language which the corporate will understand is a transferable skill for them. That story you need to prepare before. How do you do that? So that is one. And second is that there are a lot of tools of supply chain which are there in the market. Now you don't have to have the license to that, but at least you must learn what are these tools that is to be used in supply chain as far as transportation is concerned, as far as shipping is concerned, as far as container management is concerned. How are these tools being used? Get to know them. So even if you've not used it in your interviews, if you're able to tell them that this is what this tool can do, and if I get a hands-on chance to deal with it, I can prepare myself for that. That is another aspect of it. Please go ahead, and if you go to LinkedIn has got few features like groups. It's got features like newsletters. Go ahead and use that tool. Open up that and look at those supply chain groups. Look at those newsletters which has got on supply chain topics. Subscribe to them, join those groups, because the admins have to give you permission if you join those groups. So when you join all of them, by the time your 18 months are over, you have got an insight into what the supply chain in the world is now looking at. And like what KPM said, that you have to have your Excel sheet, get that Excel sheet made, type down, go to ChatGPT or anything, get at least 30 supply chain companies, which is there in whichever domain that you want to go, list it down from there. Go to those websites and find out what are their latest products management, services management that they're doing. Once you learn that and go and get those articles and subscribe to supply chain magazines, you are way ahead. By the time you leave, 18 months is enough time for you to prepare. Dedicate your discipline like that. Okay, I'm going to dedicate 1 hour in a week for 5 days in a week. And if I've got a party on one of these 5 days, I'm going to make up on a Saturday and a Sunday. Unless you put this discipline and put that, I'm talking structure because I believe in all your wildness, there is some amount of structure that is required for you to go ahead. That's the reason I said. That's how you prepare. Most with Colonel will be able to add. Yes,
yeah, sure. Yeah. So, very pertinent question for me, because after I was with GE and then with Genpact, and I headed out the supply chain vertical. And we started with about 1,100 people. It used to be called industrial businesses, and then gradually became supply chain. We have 2,000 people now. Now, what you're saying, Dhruv, is, how do I fit in? What should I be doing? And I'll just take away exactly from what Prem said. There is so much in supply chain. So we used to do supply chain for Penske, the running of the trucks. Okay, that's one form of supply chain. We used to do supply chain for healthcare industry, right? In terms of how do you figure out that when the magnetron, basically, your CRT cathode, whichever way you look at it, right? When you go for an X-ray or thing like that, when it's down, it means productivity is down. Then how do you get the right time, the right person, and the right tool all together at the same point of time, such that the equipment doesn't go down? How do you remotely monitor that? There is so much in this world about it. How do you drive deflations on supply chain? So it's like today you're doing vendor management. There's a direct spend, there's an indirect spend. I mean, I could talk a lot about it, but fundamentally, like what Prem has said, you have to figure out where in that supply chain piece you are. It's not just supply chain is, if I'm from the SC, then I think, oh, I'm great for supply chain. Probably not, right? There is much more to it. So you will have to figure that part out and then do the same Excel maths with stuff which Das came up with, and do all of that, right? That I would say would be your first step. Then I do know there are individuals. There's a Colonel Jitinder from ASC itself who's actually done supply chain for. I'm forgetting the name of the company, but they've hired like 10,000 trucks, and they've come up with very innovative processes around it. And also, what's that difference that you're bringing in from the army, and therefore how can you look at those things to make that difference in supply chain itself? So figure out which domain within supply chain, and then within that, what innovative stuff are we talking about? How do you get to all of it? Okay, so I hope this. Sorry, we don't have enough time, but I just thought briefly, at least I'll tell you about this.
Right. I think so. That's a wonderful perspective from both of you. We also have a question from Sarnavo Kundu, who
Another
wants
supply.
no, so he's from AC, and he would like to look at opportunities in marketing management, and he's done his bachelor's in marketing management and undergoing advanced program in global operations and supply chain management, IIM Lucknow. I think that this question is a repeat of what we just saw, so probably we will skip this, and they have this is a certain unique question from Atik. Atik says, sir, I would like to know about your views on sustainability consulting industry. How do we get into this industry with certification after 10 years of experience? Sir, anyone with knowledge on that?
Okay, I'll pause because I've been speaking a lot. Maybe Das and Prem, if you've got something, otherwise I'd be happy to take it.
I'll just share certain aspects of the sustainability consulting industry. Now, the views that I would is generally what we have spoken about is be very specific as to why you want to go into sustainability consulting industry. What is the reason? What is actually driving you to go there? The reason is when you go niche. This is from the experience that I've gathered. So take it from that point of view. When you go niche, you have to be 110% into that niche. You can't think I could have done this also. That is why I'm asking this question. You should be very sure when you're going into this industry. Then the second thing that you need to do is that which are the companies which is into this consulting. You got to identify that. Get into LinkedIn. Connect with those people from those companies. Speak to them. Speak to the armed forces guys, if at all they are there, or anybody else. Speak to them, understand. Just connect to them, tell them, can I have a 10 minutes conversation with you? I want to understand this industry better. That's all you need to do. Speak to them. As you keep developing your connections, then you will get to know more and more about this industry. Where do you stand? How is the growth going to pan out? These are the things that you will be getting concrete evidence of how you're going to do in the industry. I have no data as of now to share what is the compensation structure in this industry, because this is very niche. Like I told you, it's very niche. So in a niche industry, when you show how valuable you are, when I say how valuable you are, what is the value that you're adding in your role? That is what I meant by valuable. What is it that you're adding in your role in that valuable content? That is going to make you niche, and that is where you're going to get your big compensations from. Because every company, I have done this as a head of HR, we all look out within the industry, who are the stars, where are they, and then I get the headhunters to tell them, hey, tap that guy, I would like to have him. So the headhunter goes and meets him. So unless you create a niche, unless you market yourself as a brand in sustainability, in LinkedIn, in the forum, go attend seminars, make your presence felt, talk about sustainability, that is how you make a mark for yourself.
KPM, sir, you're sir.
So I'm going to take 20 seconds and say 4 things. First, there needs to be a balance between horizontal versus vertical. right? So that sweet spot, that mix between horizontal, vertical, you need to figure out. Vertical is expertise. The second thing is, guys, hang out together. Please help each other. Please have communities of veterans who are transitioning. Those who have left, please look behind, carry everybody with you, right? Every year, at least two people should get jobs just because of you, your effort. You're virtually been with them throughout their life cycle till they get the new job. Commit on this, two people every year. I've done 21 years. Okay. The third thing I want to say is, do not for a moment uh, think that some industry is out of bounds for you. Everything is relevant today. Industries are getting cross functional. I had a peer, a British surgeon who was in my team, who had become a cybersecurity expert. Today is the head of Philips based out of Singapore. So just open out your mind. This whole business of technical, non-technical is of the industrial age, doesn't apply today. Thank you.
Great perspective, sir. Finally, some words from Varun, sir. Anything you would like to
Yeah,
close this session
I
with?
think Das has always the best way to put it, three bullets, take it, leave it. Okay, that's it. All I'll just say is take my tagline, apply it too, along with all of that. Do it with passion. Kuch nahi hoega, wo upar wala hai. They'll also look after you, right? And also try what Naa has been trying, right? He could get a job for no time at all. Try some startups. That's also very exciting and interesting. Maybe not everyone can do it, but nevertheless.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
so
And
much. This is great.
Satyajit, I will answer your question in just 2 minutes. If you are targeting only Big Four, you're making a big mistake. Okay, so don't target Big Four. There are there are many big things than Big Four. Okay, probably the Big Tenth is much bigger than the Big Fours. Okay, that's the perspective, right? So thank you all of you, sir, for joining this session. But and if you would like to reach out to us, we have Ghazal here with us, who will throw in our numbers where you can get in a one-on-one or just put in some sessions, because we just blocked 1 hour for each of our guests. And I will definitely speak about GRC roles, and Kamal, Kirti, I'll take a separate session on GRC roles maybe one of these days. And I thank you, our guest panel, Colonel Varun, Colonel KPM, and Colonel Prem, for throwing such a interactive, and I'll say I enjoyed it a lot. And listening it from the horse's mouth is one thing, right? So you've been there, done that. And I like this one, KPM sir, where it said, bring two on board every year. And I think I've done more than that in last 1 year, right? I would have crossed a lot. So that way my quota for next probably 10 years is done. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you all for participating. You can reach out to us and post in your individual questions. Take care. Thank you,
Great.
and bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Good luck. Are we done?
हो गया सर